Okay, so today we're here. Amy, we connected actually through Instagram. When people go on your profile, they see meditation, healing, hypnosis, kind of more of the spiritual kind of finding to yourself. So this will definitely be super interesting for me to go into. We're gonna drink together the chamusume, the gyokuro. She already brewed it. Very beautiful, beautiful color. And I think we're gonna just maybe start off a little bit by a short introduction of yourself. Maybe you tell yourself, you tell a little bit the audience, so how you got a little bit more into this spiritual part, and then really drink the tea together, and then we see where we go.
That's great. Well, first, thanks so much. I really enjoyed our chat the other day, and such good tea. Really, really good.
Thanks.
My background is in education and psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and I formally taught high school English in the classroom several years ago. And I am a mom of two. And over the last, my son is 12, my daughter's 8. And over the course of their lives and becoming a mom and balancing just being a whole person and being a mom and being a wife and sort of all of the roles, I began to become very interested in working really closely with women to sort of protect a self-care practice, to create a self-care practice, to create goals that are separate from their family goals and projects and things that are sort of separate and different from what they might be doing at home, because women typically, moms, no matter what kind of a mom you are, if you're a very, very busy working corporate mom or you're a homeschooling mom, no matter what kind of mom you are, it seems very typical that your heart is 100% invested at all times. And that can, even if you're professionally aligned and you're really killing it and just out there making a name for yourself, doing all kinds of great things, there can be these emotional pulls that struggles that come along with motherhood and balancing everything along with it. And that's sort of where I feel like I can help, is to help women create space for themselves so that they can relieve stress, have healthy ways to express themselves with other women and other moms, and just nurturing that side of themselves that is very that loves to mother others, and turning that sort of towards ourselves and finding that time. And I think that women are really aware of that. I think we always have been, but especially right now. But it's almost like going to the gym or anything else, that we're certainly aware that we should be exercising or taking walks or being active, but we don't always do what we know we should do. So even though women have been given permission, I think in a lot of ways, to take care of themselves, to make time for themselves, sometimes you need someone, I know I sometimes need someone to step in and sort of nudge me into a self-care practice, or teach me rituals, things to incorporate into my life that are nurturing and kind of facilitate that personal growth and development.
Was there for yourself, because before you were a teacher, and I think most often when you kind of make a transition in your life, it's kind of there is a certain moment triggering something. Is there kind of a trigger moment for you where you kind of said, okay, I'm gonna stop here and I need something completely different? Or was it more kind of a slow transition into it, and then you kind of found your way and said, wow, this is actually what I like to do much more than what I'm doing at the moment?
for me, I think it came out of personal experience that was in part sort of gradual, and then the wake up call was abrupt. So the gradual part was becoming a mom, not being prepared for it emotionally, which I thought that I was. But I think for so many moms, the demands, just the sleep deprivation and the time that's involved, and for so many moms being sort of, often isolated or raising a family, without a sort of strong community support system. Just slowly over the years, I began to feel very, very depleted, but it's not always something that you recognize is happening because you're fulfilled in other ways and you're giving and you're wanting to give. So I didn't recognize that it was happening until my family moved from Northern California up in the Bay Area near San Francisco to Los Angeles 5 years ago. For my husband started law school in the evening program at Loyola. So we relocated to LA with a very, very different pace. We've been living in Santa Cruz, which is a very coastal, sleepy surf town, very small, very sort of insular in a lot of ways. And so we moved to LA, and the pace was, for me, it was noticeably different, and everything just sped up. And it got to a certain point where I was just having a hard time getting out of bed every day. And I kind of couldn't, at the time I was drinking coffee, and my husband would just go out to a coffee shop and set a coffee by my bed to basically be like, wake up, without saying that, to get me like up. We need the kids, we need lunch, we need breakfast, we need kids going to school. And I remember several times just kind of seeing my son just getting in the car with my husband to go. My daughter was still at home, just like he was, I guess, eating the cafeteria lunches at school. And I would just be in my pajamas saying a quick goodbye to him. And I knew that wasn't sort of the plan, that wasn't kind of what I had in mind for us, just this feeling like I was just waking up in a whirlwind every day. And so it was not long after that, I went to see a shaman with my family because I wanted a big change, and I knew that I needed help, but I didn't know where to look. So it seemed interesting. I'd always been sort of interested in shamans and spirituality, but hadn't really gotten too close. So I felt like this was the time. It was the time for something big. So we met with Shaman Durek, and he immediately looked at me and said, immediately said, "You're not living your truth." And I think he even, pointed, it was not an accusation, but it was very strong. It was very much like, wake up. And I did. We kind of went through a big session with him, and the whole family got to kind of, talk to him, and it was a great experience. He is a really powerful and kind and good person. So I left that feeling like my life had to be different, and I wanted it to be. I wanted to change. I wanted to grow. I wanted to sort of lift this fog. And so I found Kundalini yoga. At the time, it was the best thing that had ever happened to me, and in many ways still is. I have distanced myself from the community, not from the community, I shouldn't say that at all. I haven't distanced myself from the community, but from the leader, Yogi Bhajan, who recently, it's sort of been known for, I guess, for a while, but it's come to light that he was not really who he claimed to be in many ways. So, there was abuse, and there were survivors of abuse, and I stand with them, and I believe them. And yet I'm grateful for what it taught me in terms of opening up the world of yoga and meditation to me, which had seemed like it was for other people before I found Kundalini yoga. It seemed like you had to earn that or just be already a spiritual person, or it didn't seem like it like I had an invitation to that world, but it then became very comfortable and felt very much like just home to me. And so those practices I'm just so grateful for learning. Some of the practices that been taught in that tradition are up for debate as to where they came from, and but many of them are just tried and true ancient hatha yoga techniques for breathing and stretching and moving your body. That just learning those basics has been so huge for me, and knowing how to incorporate those into daily life, and just using them as a way to invigorate, relieve stress, and then really wanting to teach that to other people.
Was it when you look back now and you had this, at one point, I think you have the knowledge, okay, it has to change. I think it wasn't the moment where he pointed at you, but it was kind of already before. For you, was it kind of a, what's actually the feeling you get then? Is it kind of a deception with yourself, or is it just a feeling of there has to be much more than just this or what I'm living at the moment? What kind of feeling is it that brings you then to this change? Or was it for you?
I think that's a really good way of putting it, that it's the feeling that there's more, and that it's available, and that it's the work would be involved in tapping into it, but that there was definitely sort of almost an alternate reality that I could be living. Same me, same universe, but different circumstances, different feelings, different reactions and responses to things that happen. There was that sense that I could kind of tap into that, but that it would be work.
And then you kind of felt it was kind of an energy like drawing you to the yoga itself, because now you said, okay, the movement or yoga in general, or the type of yoga you were learning, it was kind of I think the beauty of yoga is finally you get very conscious of your body. And I think there's this separation. It's clear we have always these outside kind of forces, is a big word, but finally it's just the outside demanding to us, and we are kind of laying out ourselves to this outside and then distancing ourselves from the inside. And then yoga teaches us exactly the other thing, that you have to feel on the inside to be ready for the outside. But for you, it was kind of, was it the yoga practice itself that really brought you then back a little bit into a certain balance, or was yoga just more a toolkit for you, and it was kind of a shift which you had within your mind towards your reality? Because finally your life didn't change all that much, it was just a perceptual shift, or what was it exactly?
And you're absolutely right. If you were to look around the circumstances, and you had no way to gauge feelings or emotion or emotional wellness, you would absolutely see no difference. That's a really good point. For me, I had actually always been into physical fitness and going to the gym, doing like boot camp, doing like those kind of workouts. And I never wanted to do yoga. I wanted to do yoga because it seemed cool, But every time I would try it, I hated it. And I felt like this is a waste of time. I'm not getting a workout. I can stretch anywhere. I don't need to do yoga for this. And at the gyms that I would go to, the people that took the yoga classes were the rudest. They were always the ones in the locker room that seemed to just be, only thinking of themselves and not really aware of, the other people around them. So I remember often being just kind of turned off by yoga. And I remember even at the gym once, I just finished it was kind of like a mix of a boot camp with a lot of stretching. And I was complaining about it in the locker room, about it was just too slow paced for me. And some older woman who I didn't even know, and she just kind of said this and walked out. She said, well, that's exactly what you need. And then she just sort of walked out. And I was like, that thought of like, she's probably right. I don't know who that even is, but there's probably truth to that, But what I realized is over the years, from pretty early on, I have had this real desire for ritual, the ritual aspect of spirituality. And I thought that I would find something more ritualistic and spiritual in yoga classes, and was always disappointed by growing up not knowing a lot about Eastern religion or Eastern spirituality or practices. I didn't even really know what chanting was, but I knew that was something that I wanted to do. And if I ever heard it anywhere, I would be like, that. I don't know what that is, but I want to do that. I want to be sitting in a room full of people meditating and chanting. And I grew up in Texas in the 70s and 80s. And I'm sure that existed somewhere, but good luck. I wasn't surrounded by that sort of thing. So it was just a sense of it being there, but no way to access it. And so Kundalini was all of that in one class. It was ritual, magic, spirituality, a sermon, chanting, singing, moving, dancing, everything, breathing in 90 minutes. And that's one of the reasons people love it. It's very powerful, and it will kind of rock your world. It will open you up. And there is some debate as to how much do you want to be opened up? Like, is it safe to be opened up that much? I have no idea, but I do think it's definitely important to be, aware of who you're practicing with, and kind of making sure that you know their background, and that you're aware, because you're absolutely opening up doors and windows in the psyche and emotional pathways. It's all there. I think it's all very, very true when people talk about the really big experiences that you can have doing certain kinds of yoga, doing Kundalini.
Maybe you walk us a little bit through. So it's a group class, or is it only with your teacher then, one-on-one?
It's best in a group, and you can do it one-on-one. You can do it, small groups. In fact, I've taught a lot online, one-on-one, and it's always powerful and effective. But in a group, it's truly incredible. And that's the typical class. The more crowded, the better. That's kind of the energy is a big part of it.
So, and you talk about opening up. What do you mean exactly? So you talk about kind of personal issues, or is it kind of you do together a certain way of chanting, and then you open up, and then you kind of show emotions, which can be crying, which can be whatever it is. And this is a little bit what you experience in these classes, or is it really a exchange, a talking, even describing certain situations you lived through in your life?
Well, I think that so really the opening up that I'm kind of referring to is your subconscious will actually become sort of open in this process. So and it's this unique combination of again, the breathing, and honestly, when you look at this through a more sort of Western scientific lens, there are ways to explain this that are science-based, that are not spiritual or religious. In other words, a lot of people will tell you, and I tend to agree, that if you take these elements and put them in any setting, you will get a feeling, a reaction, a response. People will have an experience. People have these experiences in churches, all different kinds of spiritual and religious settings. And it's really this combination of breathing, tapping into emotion, movement, singing, being in the group. It all can kind of create this experience. And so the opening up part for a lot of people is the subconscious. And that's where I think, if someone is interested in this, a lot of the teachers and the practitioners refer to it as a technology, because it's considered a sort of a way of rewiring some of the thought patterns, some of the just the different just kind of the grooves in the thought highways. You can kind of change them to be more positive, not use the ones that are negative as much, and rebuild ones that are more positive. And so some of this is still very controversial. It's definitely not widely accepted, and it's kind of up to the individual to decide if it's working, and if you want it to work, if you want to even believe that this is a technology or something that you can use. Again, for me, it's been really, really powerful. And I hesitate, again, because of the allegations against Yogi Bhajan. I know that I feel that I'm responsible as a teacher, but I'm no longer teaching it exactly the way that I learned it because of the sort of the allegations. But there's so much to work with there that any honest, ethical teacher who's been through the Kundalini teacher training, I think, can take some of these really good gems, just again, like standard breathing exercises, meditations, stretching, yoga, warm-ups, can take these that he didn't invent and apply them in a way that gives you the really, some of that, the results, in terms of feeling better.
I think, it's not something we want to go too much into in the allegations, because finally I want to keep it a little bit on you and your experience.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to. That's definitely not a fun topic. I know. Exactly. But I feel it's a hot topic sort of right now. So I feel like I just want to be on the record stating where I stand, because teachers are really kind of having to take a stand, and I want to be counted as one who stands with the survivors. But yeah, exactly. No need to go too deep into that.
For you, then, it was kind of this, as far as I understand, it's kind of the start of everything. And then you got a little bit more into meditation, hypnosis. So kind of, it was for you, it was a kind of an entry point in a certain way.
Yes, absolutely. So I began to have a very strong Kundalini practice, and I started teaching, doing individual sessions. And then I started volunteering at a center for homeless youth in transition in Hollywood. And so I was teaching as often as I could, and just really feeling incredible and feeling the results and seeing the results in my students. And then I started to see that it felt like there could be more to what I do, what I could bring, than just teaching the Kundalini, which is, of course, in and of itself, it's a whole universe, a whole practice. But I began to see ways that I could kind of incorporate more of what I know about just psychology and coaching and education, and kind of create something that encompasses all of that. So I started a program that's it's based in Canada called Yes Supply Method. And it's a coaching certification program that focuses on, I mean, it's based in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is an amoral sort of practice. It's also controversial, like Kundalini yoga. But it's honestly just, again, like a lot of things, the practitioner is, has to be trusted. And it just depends on how the practitioner uses it. So it's based in NLP, and then we're learning EFT and hypnosis and just, basic coaching techniques. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with EFT, which is tapping. So tapping is, it's really effective. And I like it a lot, and it works for me, even though the first few times you do it, you feel, or for me, I felt like, this doesn't feel like this would be doing anything, but it's just going through meridian points. And as you're talking about a problem, you're tapping on the meridian points. And so you're working through what's going on as you're tapping. And there's quite a release that goes in. You can do it for as little as or as long, and you can write your own script where you're talking, or you can even just listen and watch videos of someone doing it and still get the effects, even if you're not verbalizing. So it's a flexible technique, and it's very effective. People really like it.
So actually you talk about the problem and you tap certain points.
That's right. You go through like your we could do one if you want.
Okay, let's do one then. Okay,
all right.
I'm interested.
Okay, great. All right, so first, before we start, I'll show you the basic points that we're going to tap. So this is, and you're going to just use your two fingers here.
2 fingers, yeah.
And get really forceful, with it. Not hard, but just that you can really feel it.
Yeah.
And then this is the next point up here on top of your head.
Okay.
And then you're going to do just the side, like your cheekbones.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go under here, just this part right here. And then your collarbone.
Yeah.
And then underarm. And then you can do wrist.
Yeah.
And then back to the karate chop.
The same one? Okay.
Yeah. And so let's find just anything you off the top of your head, if you can think of something, and then we'll go a few rounds where we talk it through, and then we'll end on some affirmations to sort of plug those in where you've left off.
So I would need something negative.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, yeah.
Ooh, that's difficult. Super fulfilled.
That's great for you. I'm so glad.
Maybe. Okay, I have become obsessed with TikTok. Let's talk about the. Then what I do, I actually get up in the morning and I watch 20 minutes of TikTok. And this is somehow a waste of time. So maybe this could be a negative thing I'm experiencing, wasting my time. by hanging too much on social media?
Okay, so let's go down another level with this and say what you're really experiencing is guilt, a little bit of guilt or shame that you're spending time. Okay. So even though you want to repeat after me, okay? I'll do little phrases and then you'll repeat them, okay? So we'll say, even though I spend too much time on social media,
I spend too much time on social media,
I love and respect myself.
I love and respect myself.
And even though
I
could be doing other things, productive things, things that would add to my day, I love and respect myself. I think a lot of people spend too much time on social media because it's fun. I like to have fun. And maybe fun is overrated. But maybe fun is underrated. And maybe I deserve more fun. But maybe I'm just telling myself this to make myself feel better about spending too much time on social media. But I am a busy and productive person. And I do get my work done. Even if I'm on social media. So maybe I know what I'm doing. Maybe I trust myself. What if I have a deep inner sense of a balance, and I know how to balance work and play. And maybe all I really need to do is trust myself more. Because I deserve to have fun. Even mindless, meaningless scrolling is worth it if it's fun for me. Because life should be fun. And now your left hand over your heart, right hand over your left. Close your eyes, take a big deep inhale and hold it at the top. And just feel good feelings, healing, positivity swirling all around you, all inside you, knowing that you have the answers. And exhale through your nose. And when you're ready, just open your eyes.
Thanks a lot.
Of course. So yeah,
it's great. Yeah, you have a great feeling after. Yeah, it's really
so
good. It's nice, these points.
Yeah, they say that you have one point on you that's your most powerful point, but that we don't necessarily know which one it is. So you just kind of hit them all. But yeah, it's a fun, easy stress reliever that you can do anytime. And really, as we've proven with this topic, it can be it can kind of be anything.
Yeah, it can be very small, it can be very big. But it's true, it's like, it's kind of, it's so fun, it's so funny all the time, you know, when you also the topics we talk about is often this kind of maybe being too strict with yourself, and then you put maybe so much pressure, and all these things, they help us to just say, I'm okay.
Yes. Yeah, kind of like we're naturally regulating ourselves sometimes without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot. I feel definitely very much at ease now. Really after a massage. You have this feeling, like this warm feeling in your body. It's nice. Yeah, it's good. So if you have never done it, try it out for yourself. It's really great. So these are things you do and things you have learned. If you could kind of say, what is kind of the main thing you took out of this transition? Finally, you have been a teacher. You're again a teacher, just a different teacher. For you personally, what to take out of this transition?
Well, I mean, firstly, that transitions are so healthy, and that it's never too late to transition to do something new. That now more than ever in this society, that with virtual everything at our fingertips, now more than ever, just any kind of transition is, I feel like, possible for people. And I think that's been a really big takeaway for me, is that it's kind of up to you, up to us. Kind of as you just pointed out in a different context, we're sort of the ones that build these kind of fences around ourselves a lot of the time, and impose rules on ourselves that, if we really, really examine and take a look at it, even consciously and subconsciously, we realize that so many things that we take on, we don't even know how they got there. We didn't necessarily willingly, build boundaries for ourselves, but somehow they're there, but they can always be removed at any age, any time.
It's like a little bit of kind of releasing yourself and giving yourself more, kind of trusting yourself much more, and just trust and let it flow to kind of get through whatever transition then is. It can be small, big. It's kind of what I get out of you. It's like a lot of believe in yourself, and just let it flow and see, and you will be able to navigate it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What is kind of the thing you do at the moment the most?
You mean sort of from a wellness, spiritual standpoint, or
yourself,
just in general?
like to center yourself, to be yourself. What's kind of the thing you do the most at the moment?
The go-to thing for me is silent meditation and journaling. And that changes. Sometimes physical movement is more important, and I'll find myself feeling, doing more yoga, stretching. Over the summer, I was maybe, and it can be seasonal. I'm thinking, I was really, really more active and just doing a lot more physical exercise. And right now I'm feeling just more, I guess, a little more introspective, and still stretching and moving, but more gentle, and just kind of relearning, if not learning for the first time, since it's such a challenge, silent meditation. And just really, because so much Kundalini is very active, the meditations. Do you practice meditation?
Sometimes.
That's a yes. I take that as a hard yes then, because that's all it is. That's all it ever can be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Kundalini is very active. You know, you've got a mudra. Usually you have a focal point, eyes closed or open or half, you know, staring at the nose, or just, there's a lot. You're like balancing, spinning plates and doing, it's a lot. And that was actually so helpful for me, because it's actually easier than silent meditation. And so it at least gave me a sense of success that I could meditate or be a person that meditates, because doing the Kundalini meditations, you really can get it right, you know, and get the feeling of success. So I'm just working on just stillness and quieting the mind, and that's hard. That's a lot harder than singing and chanting and breathing and focusing on my third eye, and it's a lot harder.
So yeah, that actually brings us a little bit to the main topic. Maybe we can talk a little bit about tea. So you were writing me about that you ordered the combination of the teapot and the gyokuro. Maybe before we go already into the tea itself, is you were drinking a lot of coffee, and then did you stop? Did you just integrate tea, or what was the shift there?
I was drinking a lot of coffee, espresso, just black, and lattes all day, and for years, except during my pregnancies. And I think I went a few years in my 20s where I was drinking Earl Grey a lot, and I wasn't drinking coffee, just Earl Grey. But went back to coffee and really espresso, just muddy, dark espresso. And I was feeling over the years, I began to notice just, you know, I know people drink coffee for energy, but I was feeling like too much energy, scattered energy. You know, I wasn't able to sort of use the energy that the coffee was giving me at a certain point. And so I gave it up, because I also took an epigenetics test, which sort of confirmed that I'm not really compatible with coffee, but that green tea and matcha actually have elements that are really good, that sort of synthesize some of the things that coffee kind of aggravated. So I was not into matcha before that, and I was into green tea, but just kind of casually, you know, like if it was around or someone offered it, but I wasn't really seeking it out. But as soon as I had cut out coffee, I had to find a substitute really fast. And so I just kind of really cold turkey just decided, this is my new drink, this is my new morning beverage. And I just jumped in, and it was such a shock to my system. And even my children were like, what is that smell? What are you making? Because I would just like pour it, and they'd be sitting there at the counter. And I mean, they were like, because it's so earthy and grassy. And they were like, whoa, what is that?
So you started first with matcha, or was it green tea?
With matcha, powdered
okay.
Matcha, yes. And then I was I was always making a latte out of it from the beginning. So, because I just tried it straight, and I was like, it's got to be creamy. I'm just going to have to go with make a latte. So I immediately just started making matcha lattes, but I was forcing myself to drink it in the beginning, and I know myself, like, I know that I can sort of make myself like something. I guess we can all do that, but we don't all do that. But I decided, like, I'm going to like this. I'm going to make myself like this. And eventually, and it took only a couple of weeks until I was just craving it. And so now I crave the taste, and I just love it. But it definitely didn't start out that way.
So then you kind of, okay, then the first steps were with the latte. And when did you kind of expand to more leaf tea, because now you're drinking a green tea, and I have to say, it's quite a strong green tea. It has quite a strong flavor, unusual flavor also for people who get first in green tea. So it's kind of a gradual process. And when then at the beginning was lattes, and then kind of you start to drink kind of leaf teas or tea bags first. How was it there, a little bit the transition into a less creamy world?
Yes. Well, it started too when I realized that the combination of the powdered matcha and the homemade, I've been making my own hazelnut milk for the lattes.
Oh,
And
wow.
the combination of the two, though, it can be a little gritty at the bottom. So I just was really kind of rethinking the whole program then, you know, because it's a lot of effort for to be like at the end of the cup. So then I started thinking, maybe I can't transition to straight matcha with no milk, but I think I can do a leaf tea with no milk and still feel like I'm having a nice hot beverage in the morning that's not creamy, but still is going to be, you know, satisfying. So I started, this kind of hunt for just, you know, what's going to be good. And again, it's like just in the dark, you don't, I mean, I have nothing to compare it to, except that I know that I like jasmine tea. I never buy it, but if it's served, I always love it. But again, I don't know. But one of the reasons I never buy it is if you see it, even at a good supermarket, like even at Erewhon or Whole Foods, I don't trust it. It doesn't look like it's going to be worth it, you know? And so I just bypass it altogether. So that's kind of been this quest, is where am I going to find, you know, something really good that's going to take the place and give me this experience that's going to be worth, you know, waking up to in the morning, because I really don't eat a lot in the morning. It's got to be beverages. So it's really important, but that it's like really, really good. So yeah, it's a quest for sure.
And where did you buy your first leaf green tea? I assume this is not the first green tea or leaf green tea you drink.
No, there's a place called Dragon Herbs, which is a Chinese herb store, not far from where I live. And so I got a few different tea. I got a chrysanthemum tea. I got another kind of a blend. I can't remember. This was a few months ago. And I got a green tea. And those were all, the chrysanthemum tea was very, very bitter. And I do like a bitter beverages in general, but it was exceptionally bitter. So I just end up putting a lot of honey. And I prefer to have something that doesn't require that much sweetness to cut, you know, the bitterness. And then, I mean, I admit to having ordered a couple of different Amazon brands to try over COVID. The last few months, I've just like, you know, hit the buy button to try it out. And again, the one recently that I got, I can't remember the name of it, but it was a pretty large bag. And not bad, but it is fascinating how different they can taste one from the other. Just really different, really, really different.
Yeah, that's a little bit also what we experience. Green tea is not equal green tea. It's like often people think like, you drink a green tea, and then you're like, okay, that's like that taste. But can vary so much from one green tea to the other, so it's quite impressive. what kind of different tastes you really can get out of a green tea. So you tried this now for the very first time, the Gyokuro?
Yes, yes.
And how do you like it?
I love it. It reminds me a little bit of what I like about jasmine tea, but it definitely doesn't taste like jasmine tea. It tastes like green tea. But and I don't know the names of the notes, but what would you say is that note that I'm tasting that reminds me of jasmine? Because it's very, I mean, I don't know that it's flowery, but it's not sweet, but it's really mellow and mild. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it's what's pretty strong, the note that is pretty strong with Gyokuro is the umami note. This is a little bit the savory sweet note, which you get a lot from the tea. But I agree with you. This one here is coming from the Yabukita variety. So on the one hand, you have a little bit of the green, maybe a little bit of a spinachy edamame side, but in the end, you get a lot of sweeter notes. I get a little bit of banana peel, but then you also have this floral note mixing in. And I think this is what you were talking about when you're saying, okay, drags me, or it brings me a little bit into the direction of a jasmine tea. It's often this a little bit lighter floral notes which mix in with a longer shaded green tea, which can become very mellow because the astringency actually it doesn't go out, but it's really much suppressed. So you have much more space for the sweeter notes and for the more floral notes, and then you exactly get these different more mellow taste profiles out of the green tea. That's the beauty when you have a shaded green tea. When you go into sencha, which is kind of the typical Japanese green tea, there you really have the kabuse sencha. So the kabuse is actually the nylon net they put over the plants to shade them, to make them sweeter. Or Gyokuro is the longest shaded leaf tea. It's a similar process as matcha. When the matcha is higher quality, so ceremonial grade, then you often get a long shaded green tea, and that's actually what's happening. And then you're exactly landing in this land where you say, okay, it reminds me a little bit of a jasmine tea. It brings in these floral notes, these sweet notes, sugary notes, even kind of sweeter notes without being perfumed.
And I really tasted that spinach taste when you said that.
Yabukita is known for a very broad taste spectrum. So that's Yabukita is the one that's most consumed in Japan, and also most produced, to be fair, because the farmers, they don't have a big it's not very difficult to grow it because it's quite frost resistant. So for them, it solves the problem. But the consumer in Japan, they like it because it's very broad, because you have a little bit the spinachy, you have the sweetness, you have the floral notes. So you even have a slight astringency. You get it a little bit more in the second brewing, but it's very, very smooth still. And that's what the consumer in Japan like a lot about the Yabukita, that you get very broad, and this kind of slight astringent note is liked because it kind of gives the tea more of its health side as well. That I'm drinking something healthy, knowing it's slightly astringent. So that's also a reason why Yabukita is very, very liked by the people.
So it sounds like doing second infusions is okay. That I have wondered about that from a purist standpoint. That's you can.
It's a must. It's a must.
Oh, it's a must.
You have to go. You have to go for a second and a third one, because you often go with this one. You can even go to 4 brewings, and you really have a similar or kind of the same taste experience in terms of strength of the taste. So you definitely have to go over several steepings. And that's the beauty of high quality green tea, even though the price, when you look at this tea bag, it's $35 for 100 gram. it's quite a high amount for 100 gram, but knowing that you, with each 5 gram, you can do up to 4 cups of tea, brings you up to 100 cups, brings the cup down to 30 cents, 35 cents, which is then quite close to a normal tea bag, especially when you go for a little bit of a higher price tea bag, you are directly there or even above. So it is very important that you take out all the brewings. I would really go up to 4, and with each brewing you get new tastes, new taste profiles also, and you get all the beauty of the tea, giving you all the nutrients which are in the leaves. So it's very important to get the tea over several steepings.
So, and it sounds like that's really a characteristic of high-end teas and quality teas, that just out of a box in a bag, those are designed for just one infusion and toss it,
they are.
Right? So
often they are also flavored, so the flavors, they often go out in the first brewing with the tea bags. And if you have a naturally grown tea, which is really naturally developing its taste profile, you can really brew it over. Maybe it's even a test if you have high quality tea at home or not. Right. You try several brewings, and if several brewings are possible and the taste stays at a similar level, then you have a higher quality leaf tea. And if it loses after the first steeping already, it's flavored, then you know, okay, it's artificially flavored.
You know, one of the things I know that I personally do is, and I think it's kind of common to bring together self-care and ritual, and think of like cacao ceremonies and tea ceremonies as self-care. But in Japan, is that the case, or is it more spiritual, ceremonial? And what is the history of that? Is it not religious at all? Is it Shinto, or what sort of, how did that become such a main tradition?
Actually, it's the Japanese culture. They brought in the Zen into the tea culture, or they combined the tea culture and the Zen, because originally green tea, especially green tea, or the birthplace of green tea is China. And in the early years, so about 500, 600 after Christ, often Japanese monks, they went to China to study the Zen belief, or the Zen school. And what they did, and this is said that around the 8th century after Christ, people started to bring back tea plants. And then it was mostly the monasteries which planted tea plants in the area of Kyoto in the beginning. And that's why also the tea has such a strong link also to the Zen Buddhism and spirituality in general. And even when you go nowadays to monasteries, they drink tea or matcha green tea as well, just before they do long hours of meditation. So it is, or has always been, seen as a medicinal drink, and helping you to fight off also flus, and in general, just giving you a stronger body itself. And originally, actually, the matcha way of kind of powdered tea was the original way how they brew tea. So the leaf tea itself only came up in the 18th century. This is the rolling method. So kind of when they roll the tea, they actually break the tea leaves, and that's how the tea leaves give then the flavor to the water. And before, they didn't know how to do it, so they just powdered the tea. And that's why matcha is actually the original form of tea in Japan. And then when they found out about this rolling technique, which again came from China, then actually the whole boom about the leaf tea came up. And nowadays around 95% in Japan is consumed as leaf tea, and only 5% is matcha.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a little bit how it came up, and that's why you have a strong link between spirituality and tea houses, Also, when you, for example, when you go into a tea house, often you have a small entrance. And when you go to a tea ceremony, so somebody is invited, actually the entrance is very low and you have to crawl actually into the house. And the tea house is a space or a place of neutrality, of kind of just being present to each other. And even the emperor has to go down on his knees to enter the tea house. So it's a place where everybody's equal and where they finally celebrate a moment of two people meeting on the same level, because also the emperor has to crawl to get into the tea house. And then often when you do a tea ceremony, it's just a celebration of the moment of somebody serving somebody else with the tea, and the celebration of the moment of enjoying a cup of tea together. Yeah.
I've heard that. Is it true that it's that you're not supposed to pour your own tea in a tea ceremony? You're supposed to pour someone else's?
It is actually, so normally you serve the tea. So somebody serves the tea to somebody else. So often you have the person that is invited and the person that invites, and the person that invites actually serves the tea to you. So you don't do it yourself. So it's kind of the tradition that I serve the tea to you.
Right.
Actually, I should serve you the tea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how often do you go to Japan?
We try to go 2 times a year. 2020 was 0 times a year, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's probably
but I
been
think
a while.
it was the same issue for everybody.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really what we try to do, is to go at least once. So I go at least once. Will, who does the main part of our social media, he goes twice. Yeah. Normally, and then we go everywhere we can, and everywhere we can visit farmers, because for us it's super important to have the proximity to the farmers themselves, to small family farms, and that's what we try to promote, finally, small organic farms or organic tea in general. Yeah,
it's great. Makes such a difference.
Yes, that's the beauty of our age. You know, you can really give access, on the one hand, people teas they would never find in the US in this way, and on the other hand, you can give small farmers really the platform that you can present themselves and see and show what they do and how they curate the tea. And for us, it's just always an amazing experience to get to know all these people, and to see the hard work that's also put into growing tea. It's still a very, very tough business, and it's very hard for the elder generation also to motivate the younger generation, because nowadays everybody wants to be a YouTube star and
TikTok
famous on Instagram. And yeah, the attractivity of becoming a farmer is also tough, as well as, I don't know, in the US or in Europe, when farmers try to give over the farm to the youngsters, it's hard to keep them in. And it's the same, but it's just dedication often, and the conviction also, because if you're an organic farmer in Japan, you're a little bit off the normal track, because organic farming itself is not very known and not even searched by the Japanese people. It's more something we in the West, we appreciate and we like. We want to have organic things, because here I think the consciousness about organic and non-organic is much higher than in Japan. So it was really tough sometimes for them to start.
So are they just not using, are they using a lot of pesticides, or are they using other farming practices that are not maybe organic by our standards, but they are not maybe necessarily using really harmful pesticides?
most green tea fields are grown with pesticides. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw once somebody, then they have the mask on, you know, you have this white suit, like everything is protected, and there's spraying whatever it is on the tea plants. Yeah, that's how it is, because finally what you have more is that you have one harvest more if you do it with pesticides. So you can, there's in July, there's the strong bug season, and you can just get rid of the bugs if you spray the tea plants. But on the other hand, the tea plant itself is much stronger when it's grown organically and has much more nutrients as well. So this is something I personally also like about the fact that something is grown organically. It really has to take all its force from the soil and is not protected from the outside. So the plant itself is stronger as well. And the tea leaves in themselves are stronger, and therefore they have more nutrients as well. So this is what I personally like a lot about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then eventually they will have to regenerate that soil that they're spraying. They'll have to pay for that at some, I mean, that's going to have to regenerate one way or the other. So it's either doing it a little bit at a time, or, you know, in the future, having unusable farm fields.
Exactly. Like the soil is much harder. The plant is much harder time to absorb nutrients from the soil because it's not so loose. It's quite impressive, yeah. Once you stand on an organic green tea field and a non-organic, it's just two different worlds. One is just black earth, nothing growing, just a tea plant. And when you're on the organic field, it's like you have flies flying around, you have grass everywhere. It's two different worlds. It's pretty impressive.
Wow. Very interesting.
As a consumer, when you have non-organic tea, you cannot eat the tea leaves, but this one here you can eat. Right. So actually, when you had your tea session, you can even take a little bit of soy sauce or a little bit of vinegar, put it over the leaves, and you eat it. Or you mix it into the salads. That's what you also can do.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, you have to. It's great. It's actually pretty nice. Yeah.
Wow.
I like it a lot. I even did once a video where I show how to eat them, how to prepare them. It's super easy. Just a little bit of soy sauce or a little bit of rice vinegar or vinegar itself, and then you have a nice salad, which you can eat.
That sounds so good. I have both of those. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah. Now you have a pack, so you can try out everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm planning on it.
Good. Yeah,
it's really good. Really, really good. And the bitterness never becomes too much. You know, I mean, because now mine has been sitting for a while, and it's still very just mellow, mild.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's thanks to the amino acids, to the theanine, which is inside. And it's also good for your concentration because it can break through your blood-brain barrier. So that's what triggers the alpha brain waves, what you get from meditation. You get it also from the tea itself, yeah. From Japanese green tea, or green tea itself has this positive side. And when you drink shaded green tea, you even have a higher concentration of theanine. So it's a great tea. When you want to do a meditation session, drink it before the meditation session, and this will help you to concentrate even better.
And as you're saying, the monks knew this. The monks have been doing this all along. That's so interesting.
So you can try it out and see. Let me know how it is, and if it helps you to have a better meditation session. Actually,
I will. And I know a lot of people take that as a supplement, and I'm sure it's so much better to drink it than to take a
I'm always surprised when I see the theanine supplements, and then I was like, okay, you can also enjoy a nice cup of green tea in the morning.
Exactly. I'm sure it's more effective.
I don't know. Sometimes these supplements are quite elaborated and they're quite professional, but finally, what they say is a good dose is when you drink just 5 grams of this tea, you get exactly that doses. So
the perfect amount. Oh, wow.
You're perfect.
That's great.
Good. So thanks a lot, Amy, for this chat.
Thank you.
It was amazing to have you. And then I wish you all the best. And as always, if you have a question, just connect with us, and maybe we have one day another session. Who knows?
That sounds great. Thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Take
Right,
care.
see you.
Have a great day. See you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.